Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. Welcome to Derry was such an incredible show. It restored the feeling, don't sue me Tony Khan, of being a huge Stephen King fan, to the point where I'm planning on diving back into the Macroverse once again. I have read It, The Dark Tower, or some of them. I've read The Shining and Carrie. I've read different seasons, you know, the one with Stand By Me, and I've read Cujo. I've even read Dreamcatcher and Lawnmower Man. Yes, Mr. King wrote that, or at least the short story that the movie is very, and I mean very, loosely based on. I've even read some of his son's works as well. If you're looking for a short, spooky read in early summer, check out Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. It's a great gateway novel into his work. After that, check out Horns and Lock and Key. But we're not here to talk about those stories. We're here to talk about Pennywise the Dancing Clown and how I would design his kit. And it now seems pretty appropriate due to the new promo video behavior put up that mentions the word it about, I don't know, a bajillion times. There's graffiti in one scene that appears to say Steven with a king's crown on it, and a character that definitely isn't Finn Wolfhard's character from It Chapter 1, staring at a familiar orange glow that isn't a campfire, if you catch the drift there. So, enough chit-chat, let's light some January ember flames, keep track of your paper boat, and let's talk about bringing it into the fog.
Decided to join the circus.
Pennywise is the greatest monster Stephen King has ever created. That is why I decided to make this video. As a plea to him, if he hasn't already agreed on to some terms with behavior, that is yet to be seen. Everyone loves this dancing clown so much. From me, a now 35-year-old lifelong King fan, to my 7-year-old cousin. Don't ask. I had no hand in it. Get it? Georgie. Never mind. But she even loves the dancing clown and all of his hilarious antics. Oh, so much blood. He's a character for every age, so Mr. King, if you hear this, Dead by Daylight is more than a game. It is a horror Hall of Fame, and we the fans want your iconic creature to join the forces of the likes of Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Pinhead, Leatherface, and now Jason Voorhees. I'm sure Behavior will pay you more than $1 for his inclusion. Alright, enough groveling, let's get on to the topic, shall we? Welcome to Derry is an amazing show that brings to life the lore and abilities of Pennywise like we have never seen before. It shows us what it can do. I'm gonna get into spoilers throughout this video for the 2017 and 2019 movies, the 1990 miniseries, and Welcome to Derry, so go watch those if you're interested in this video. I haven't read the book in a very long time, and Audible, not sponsors, reading is a whopping, get this, 44 hours long. So I'm not going to be referring to it. You see what I did there? I'd also make a 27 years reference, but I definitely didn't read the sewer gangbang scene when I was 8. So there's that. Also, It is referred to as The Entity from time to time, so if I call it The Entity, just know I'm talking about it and not our entity. Before we get into its power, the trial start animation should absolutely be Maddie's transformation in the sewers. It's an incredible reveal of Pennywise, just jaw-dropping, going, oh, that is incredible. Also, his eyes should always glow that faint, pale, yellowish orange like in Welcome to Derry, and of course it needs to be voiced by the amazing Bill Skarsgård, who made his portrayal of Pennywise the Dancing Clown so iconic and brought the entity to even further mainstream recognition. Now on to the fun stuff. I've got a few ideas of what its power could be. There's a lot of moving parts, so just follow as best you can. I wanted to incorporate its main driving forces, as well as what it's most famous for. Let's start with that sinister urge. What drives it to commit such heinous murders? The answer is actually relatively simple, and we all have that driving force in us as well, and that is hunger. Who does it feed on the most? Scared individuals. Why? Because, as they put it, terror salts the meat. So let's start with fear. More specifically, a fear mechanic. It would work like other passive meter abilities like Pinhead and his box, building meter over time. Being in chase increases your fear faster, same thing with basic attacks. As your meter builds higher and higher, you start to experience scarier and scarier things. At 8% fear, you start hearing random voices, like the kids hear in the pipes. But that's just the beginning. At 35% fear, something like Doctor's Tier 2 illusory doctors spawn in, but instead of Doctor, it's other survivors that are, let's say 12-ish meters away from you. Just in the distance, far enough where their figure is sort of distorted by the ambient fog in the trial, but you can still see them. They're not doing anything, they're just standing there, menacingly. And when I say other survivors, I'm not talking about illusory teammates, I'm talking any survivor on the current roster chosen at random. There's a lot of them. Any one of them can show up. Except for the ones your teammates are. Because when your fear meter hits 89%, it can involuntarily take the shape of one of your teammates and teleport 24 meters away from you. It can move around like a normal survivor. It just becomes a stealth killer that has one ability, and that is to mess with you. It can change back into its Pennywise form, and it can start chasing you, increasing your fear even further. We'll get onto that more later. And lest we forget the midpoint of fear, starting at 62% fear meter, the illusory survivors that are 16 meters away become illusory Pennywises that spawn 6 meters away from you, right in your face. That's what I call a jump scare. But at full fear, it has the ability to grab you, no matter what health state, and show you the deadlights. Think of it being similar to Springtrap's ability when he grabs you, insta-down into insta-carry. Something like that. There should definitely be a special Mori that you can perform on a survivor who's on death hook and you show them the deadlights. What happens if multiple survivors are maxed out on fear, though? It can choose to turn into a creature, like the giant bat form from episode 8, if 2 survivors are at max fear, gain increased movement potential while also resetting those 2 survivors' fear meters to 0. Or it can wait until every survivor is maxed out on fear and turn into the giant spider form from Chapter 2, gaining increased movement speed and an insta-down, something similar to the Oni and that ability. But I can hear you ask, is there a way to stop it? No, but there is a way to keep it at bay. Similar to Pinhead and the Box, it brings into the trial a few fragments of its crystal. The survivors can let their fear build while cowering in a corner waiting for it to show up, or they can be proactive about it and hunt down some of those fragments and bury them at select points on the map, stopping the entity's hunt for just a while. Now, in terms that everyone can understand. Around the trial will be 4 obsidian shards and 1 obsidian dagger. The shards can be taken to dirt mounds that can be found around the map at random places. RNG is fun, after all. Interacting with them for a short time, maybe 10 seconds or so, drops your fear meter substantially and also pauses it for 27 seconds. You see what I did there? The dagger, on the other hand, is an in-trial only usable item. Think of Resident Evil chapter special items, right? If your fear is above 89% and the entity jump scares you, you can use it to stun it and put a lock on its ability use for 27 seconds, but it's a one-time use, and it takes 90 seconds to charge up to full power again. And that is how I would create the killer that is faithful to its lore from all the media sources. The fear meter percentages are obviously referenced to its feeding times from the new canon, and of course the obsidian crystals and the dagger are from Welcome to Derry, and the whole 27 motif, obviously. The 90-second cooldown is a reference to 1990, the Fear the Tim Curry miniseries came out. I didn't want to go overboard with suggestions. I do know what behavior are capable of, so I wasn't going to go full-blown hallucinations like Marge experiences or the ability to shapeshift at will. This is also only most of the bones of this killer. I went all in on the fear mechanic because that is the biggest part of it. Everything it does is to scare its victims. I like the idea of the max fear meter abilities, but I can easily see those being basic abilities as well. That would make the Deadlights grab his main goal throughout the trial, sort of like Ghostface or Michael with their insta-downs, which would also work from a lore standpoint. But obviously power is only part of the killer's story. What about the perks? I'm gonna be honest, I am having a little bit of a troubled time here, coming up with perks for old Pennywise. It's a bit difficult. I originally thought of going with obsession-based perks because he tends to single out one kid, but that's only sometimes and usually only at the start of his cycle. I thought it may be going with downing and hooking the obsession affects the other survivors, but that's just rehashing Myers perks. I know how much behavior loves rehashing perk ideas, but I'm not them. I don't like that so much, so that's a no. Maybe perk where not the obsession gets speed debuffs to healing based on how many hook states the obsession has. But then again, that number would have to be astronomical for one hook because you only get 2 hook states before you're dead. I don't know what would work because there are so many facets of Pennywise and his chaos. But that is the beautiful thing here. Almost anything could work for Pennywise and his joyfully gleeful, murderous chaos. Now on to the survivor side of things. We've got a lot of choices to choose from, but me, personally, I'm going with Bill and Bev because in everything that they are in, they seem to be the main focal point of the crew. I was going to suggest the adult versions of Bill and Bev, but since the second Stranger Things chapter, it's okay to viciously maim, torture, and kill 14 to 16-year-olds. So why not go a few years younger and viciously maim, torture, and kill 12 to 13-year-olds? Right behavior? Yes, sickos? But you can't have survivors without perks, so we gotta talk about the perks, don't we? The Losers Club are all about overcoming adversity and surviving the unsurvivable. They beat a literal god with the power of imagination and friendship. And then had a certain celebration after that. Choo-choo. It was a team-building exercise, okay? That's why they come with teamwork perks. As much as I despise them for being terrible perks attached to a terrible mechanic that was first introduced in a terrible chapter, they actually fit in really well for the Losers Club. Bill would have one that grants increased unhook speed for each survivor around, including the person on the hook, and another perk that grants him increased gate opening speed while there's at least one other survivor near him. Increases healing speed for every other survivor near her, and one that grants increased pickup speed for every other survivor near her. She's the one that gets you up and feeling good. Choo-choo. Now, not every new chapter comes with a map, but this one definitely should. I'm going to suggest something a little crazy, so follow me a little bit, will you? The town of Derry proper. I'm thinking like a classic 3-lane map like Call of Duty does. The middle lane is the idyllic center of town with all of the iconic storefronts we see in the movies and the show. Some of them will be open for us to explore and hide in, just to look around, a little more world building here and there. Connected to that main strip on both sides are the side streets leading to more residential areas, maybe even the apartments we see in Welcome to Derry in the first few episodes. On one end is the open park where adult Richie gets attacked by Paul Bunyan in Chapter 2. It's a thing. Just trust me on that one. It's weird, and it is also built upon in Welcome to Derry Season 1. On the other end is the lighthouse where our kids in Welcome to Derry meet up throughout the show. Maybe include the school, since that's a pretty prominent location in the show as well. Maybe that, and the cemetery from Episode 3, where they see the ghost, and they think they see the dancing clown. Can be a different variant, like Bantam. Bantam gets like 15 different variants. Why not the town of Derry have, I don't know, 2 or 3? Makes sense to me. But below that little slice of 1960s Americana is the sewers of Derry, where the dancing clown sleeps. It's a massive catacomb, twisting, winding turns, dead ends all around. Maybe you'll find a few exits back up to the surface, but one wrong turn, and you might see a familiar caravan. Just don't look up, because you'll float too. Now, you can't have new characters without new cosmetics. That's what we all live for, isn't it? All of the adults, they all get skins, every single one of them. If we're going with underage minors, again, we gotta go with the main kids from Welcome to Derry. And if you can do that, well, the show is gonna get at least 2 more seasons, and potentially more movies are on the way as well. So you sickos that behavior have a lot more kids to kill. Now, before we start with Pennywise's cosmetics, I want to make a suggestion for his prestige cosmetic. It should be that look from the last episode of Welcome to Derry Season 1. If you saw the series, you know how incredible he looks in that final episode. Just a very iconic. is what I'll say. It's a very iconic look for him, and it definitely should be his prestige cosmetic. But other than that, a Periwinkle legendary cosmetic. What, do you not know who she is? Well, neither did I until she showed up in the show. She's Pennywise's, we'll say, unofficial helper of sorts. She was the daughter of Bob Gray before he was killed, presumably eaten and then impersonated by the entity. Fun fact for those who do not know, Bob Gray was the OG Pennywise, the dancing clown. He was in, like, 1920s Carnival, and he was that character. He dressed in the same gear, same makeup, same person. Pennywise just took that over. That's why we call Pennywise, Pennywise, and why he looks like that. I think that's really neat. Another neat thing that Welcome to Derry did, and gave us more backstory on the dancing clown. Ingrid, Perry's real name, helped Pennywise get victims because she thought that he was her dad come back finally after all these years. When she finds out, she puts up a little bit of a kerfuffle, and then he shows her the deadlights. That same scene is why I call him the Dancing Daddy.
I'm Pennywise, your dancing daddy.
It seems out of place, but it works in that scene, and it's an amazing scene that closes out the best episode of any show from 2025. I will fight anybody and die on that molehill, because that episode, The Black Spot, woo! The entire season leads up to that scene, that moment, that episode. Home run, grand slam, game winner, game 7 of the World Series. Gone. Perfect. And of course, I would be remiss if we did not talk about a legendary cosmetic for Tim Curry's variant. It's as iconic as the Bill Skarsgård look now, maybe even more iconic because you show that Pennywise to people, and people go, oh, I know who that is. I saw that as a kid, or whatever. It has to be in the game somehow. And that is where my script stops, so that means it is the end of this edition of Let's Talk About. I hope my ideas didn't get too out of hand. Pennywise is an incredible character that seems simple on the outside, but once you really dig deep and look at the lore, look at the shows, look at the books, look at the movies, you'll see that it's more than just a costume and red balloons. I hope you enjoyed how I would build Pennywise. If you did do all the YouTube stuff, let me know your suggestions on what to talk about next, and until next time, you can catch me at the Big Top Buried Underground, but just know, I'm not clowning around. Good luck.